In countless historic shipwrecks, the crew and passengers successfully escaped in lifeboats, fully surviving the terrifying oceanic disasters alive. Yet, in many chilling instances, the captain deliberately remained behind, sinking to the absolute bottom with his massive ship. Deep underwater, we still find their skeletal remains silently resting in the thick mud near the heavily rusted wheel. Did a strict international maritime law completely force these brave men to sacrifice their own lives without any escape? Or were they tragically trapped inside the sinking vessel, entirely unable to reach the lifeboats before the final moment? The truth is shocking. Despite popular belief, there is absolutely no written international maritime law dictating that a captain must die with his ship. The only true legal requirement is that the captain must be the last person to abandon ship, ensuring every single passenger is safely evacuated first. So why did so many choose death? For centuries, a dark, unwritten tradition ruled the seas. If a captain survived a disaster while others perished, society immediately branded him a coward. A terrifying myth spread across every port, warning that a surviving captain would carry the curse of the ocean forever, facing relentless public hatred and endless shame ashore. Driven by this unbearable societal pressure and their own sense of honor, these commanders made the ultimate sacrifice. But as we look deeper into wrecks like the Titanic, the mystery of their final moments grows even darker. On the freezing night of April 14, 1912, the world's most famous maritime disaster tragically unfolded in the dark North Atlantic. Captain Edward Smith, a highly respected veteran with 40 years of experience, was facing the ultimate nightmare of his career. Knowing the ship was doomed and lifeboats were painfully insufficient, he carried the unbearable weight of over 1,000 lives on his shoulders. As sheer panic consumed the sinking deck, Smith remained remarkably calm, directing passengers and ensuring women and children boarded first. He made absolutely no attempt to save himself. But exactly how Captain Smith spent his final moments remains a chilling historical mystery. Some surviving passengers testified they saw him heroically dive into the freezing ocean, desperately trying to save a drowning infant. However, rumors painted a much darker picture, suggesting he retreated into the wheelhouse and firmly locked the heavy doors from the inside. Did he choose to silently drown in the darkness? Or did he tragically end his own life to escape the unbearable guilt? Only the dark, silent depths of the Atlantic Ocean know the true answer to this legendary captain's final, desperate moments. Smith died a hero, highly respected by history. But what happens when a captain actually survives? Enter the tragic story of the RMS Lusitania. In 1915, a German torpedo violently struck the massive RMS Lusitania, plunging it into the depths in just 18 terrifying minutes. Captain William Turner stayed on the bridge, fighting desperately to save his passengers until the ocean completely swallowed the ship. Washed away by the massive waves, Turner somehow survived the disaster after clinging to a floating wooden chair for 3 agonizing hours. However, returning home alive was the greatest tragedy of his life. The public did not welcome him as a surviving hero. Newspapers relentlessly attacked him, cruelly accusing him of cowardice and blaming him entirely for the loss of over 1,000 innocent lives. The unforgiving society completely destroyed his hard-earned reputation, proving the ancient myth that a surviving captain carries the relentless curse of the ocean. He spent the rest of his days in deep depression in isolation, heavily burdened by the restless ghosts of the Lusitania. Turner's tragic fate reveals exactly why many commanders chose a silent death. But some brave captains stayed behind for a far more emotional reason. In 1854, the massive SS Arctic collided with another vessel in Pistog, sealing the terrifying doom of everyone on board. When the cowardly crew violently stole the only available lifeboats, Captain James Luce was left completely helpless on the rapidly sinking deck. But he was not entirely alone in the freezing darkness. Standing right beside him, terrified and shivering, was his own young son, Willie. Realizing there was absolutely no escape, Captain Luce tightly embraced his beloved child, choosing to face the icy ocean together. As the heavy wooden ship finally plunged into the dark abyss, the heartbreaking image of the embracing father and son disappeared into history. Although a miracle later brought Luce to the surface, clinging to wooden debris, his innocent son had tragically slipped from his arms forever. Heartbreaking stories like these echo through time, proving the captain's burden is infinitely heavier than the colossal steel ships they confidently commanded. The ocean is a cruel master, demanding absolute perfection from those who dare to command its colossal steel beasts. A single mistake, a slight miscalculation, or a sudden change in weather could instantly seal the terrifying fate of thousands. When disaster inevitably strikes, the captain realizes that he alone is responsible for the horrifying tragedy unfolding before his eyes. Driven by an overwhelming sense of guilt and duty, many commanders made a chilling decision in their final, desperate moments. They didn't just passively wait for the end. They actively ensured there was absolutely no chance of their own survival. Deep within the historical records, we find terrifying accounts of captains who deliberately isolated themselves as their ships went down. After confidently ordering the remaining crew to abandon ship, they slowly walked back into the silent, empty wheelhouse alone. Knowing human instinct might forcefully push them to desperately swim for life, they took one final, permanently tragic step. With trembling hands, they closed the massive, heavy steel doors of the bridge and firmly locked them from the inside. By sealing the doors, they deliberately trapped themselves inside a rapidly sinking steel cage, embracing an inescapable and dark, watery grave. Through the thick glass windows, they could helplessly watch the frantic passengers scrambling for the remaining lifeboats in the distance. Inside that locked room, the deafening silence was broken only by the terrifying roar of freezing water shattering the glass panels. It was the ultimate act of self-punishment, a profound psychological surrender to the terrifying forces of the unforgiving dark ocean. The locked door stood as a physical barrier between a ruined honor and the shameful temptation of surviving the tragedy. Those heavy iron locks, now heavily rusted at the bottom of the sea, forever secure the dark secrets of their sacrifice. Their final decision was absolute and terrifying, a chilling choice to merge forever with the colossal steel beasts they loved and lost. History may call them heroes, or tragically call them victims of a rigid, unforgiving, unwritten maritime tradition. But down here, in the eternal heavy darkness of the vast ocean, names and labels are entirely meaningless. Only the massive, rusted skeletons of their legendary ships remained, silent monuments to a lost age of maritime pride. Every single dark corridor, every collapsed steel deck, and every ruined cabin still echoes with the faint, ghostly whispers of their command. We may discover their rusted telegraphs frozen on stop, silently proving they fulfilled their ultimate duty to the very end. And right there, near the helm of their massive commands, we might discover their deeply weathered skeletal remains, finally resting in peace. Though the roaring ocean successfully took their lives, it could never brutally conquer their fierce human spirit and unbreakable honor. Hundreds of feet down in the dark abyss, these brave captains are not just silent history. They are the eternal watchmen. They are sunken inside, forever serving their final watch at the dark bottom of the horrifying, endless ocean.